Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Keeping Up with the Chaldeans. We're here with Joanne Shango, Montessori School Rochester. Hi, Joanne. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm here with Junior also, as
What's up, everybody?
you all know. The unshaven Junior.
Unshaven today.
Yeah.
So handsome.
He looks good. So handsome.
Thank you.
That's nice of you.
Thanks, Joanne.
All right, so let's talk about the school and maybe introduce yourself and talk a little bit about how the school got started and jump right in.
All righty. Well, I'm Joanne Shango, formerly Yono, and we started the school in 2012. And we did it for my children because I was looking for an authentic Montessori school for them. And so we did some research and we ended up opening a school on Rochester Road. Over the past few years, we moved that location to a permanent location that we purchased on Livernois and South Boulevard in Rochester Hills. And our school grew at that point.
Okay, so how many kids were at the original school?
Well, when we started, we were in a construction zone and we had 27 children initially. We grew by about 30% every year. By the time in 2017, we had 125 students.
Wow.
And had outgrown our current facility after construction every single year.
Yeah.
And so we purchased the 9-acre property in Rochester Hills.
And you're on 9 acres.
We're on 9 acres.
Wow, that's
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah, it's a 33,000
Yeah, she's having a good problem here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, the growth has been, we've never had a wait list because every year we've modified the building in some way when we were in the old location to continue growing because it just didn't feel like we had ever gotten to a capacity
Right.
that felt comfortable. The growth was just too big. And so we exceeded our 7-year plan in year 3 for the school, which had us starting to look for a different location, and we bought our permanent home.
God bless.
When you started, did you start from infant to 6-year-old from the beginning, or was it something you implemented at a later time? Like, what was the age when you first began?
When we first opened, we had one toddler program for 8 students, and then we had a one primary class expecting to open to 2, and that's the preschool through 6-year-old, the kindergarten program.
Okay.
And we had one elementary program that had 4 students in it.
Okay.
And all of the programs ended up growing. We now have 3 toddler programs, 1 infant program, and 3 primary programs with a 4th one opening in January. And we have a pretty large elementary program as well.
Can you run through the age ranges on those, or the?
Sure. So the infant program, we call it our nest, is birth through about 18 months old. And then our toddler program has 18 months to just about 3 years old. The primary program is 3 to 6-year-old children. That's inclusive of the kindergarten year because kindergarten is part of early childhood. And then elementary is first through 6th grade.
And getting an understanding on that so we can go to the first part, which is the infants to 18 months. That's unique, right? You said earlier when we were talking, it's limited to how many schools actually handle.
Not very many Montessori programs have infant programs. Ours is different. We initially started our infant program due to the needs of our families at the school.
Yep.
And so we grew our toddler program to include infants. It is rare because not many people understand that there's developmental needs that are occurring. It's not just what we
Right.
would call fundamental needs. It's not just changing them and feeding them. They are extraordinary. Infants, you learn more. I think 65% of all you'll ever learn in your life in the first 6 years.
Wow.
And in infancy, you have mastered, at least on the oral level, an entire language by the time you're 18 months old. And so it's really important to offer those experiences of language opportunities, as well as for an infant, they're learning how to use their bodies. And to be able to provide opportunities for the children that aren't practiced movements, instead natural experiences in the environment to promote movement, you end up having more what they call sensory integrated children. So less of the issues or problems. I wouldn't call them problems because I think all kids are extraordinary, but there's so many letters behind so many names, children's names nowadays. There's all these different diagnoses, and yet if you offer a more natural environment that's focused with an understanding on the developmental needs of the infant, not just the physical care of the infant, they end up growing in a more natural way, therefore at their most optimal.
So you talk about infancy or infants. Is there a way to catch someone up that didn't come to you or didn't go to a Montessori as an infant to get up to where the development of one that did?
Absolutely. I mean, the development occurs through life. I mean, there's different planes of development all the way through, senior citizens.
Yeah.
The toddler community is a continuation of that infant community in regards to how does the world work and how do I work in the world. So they're still mastering the gross motor skills in their body. How do you run? How do you walk? That upright movement, the development of their core, and exploring fine motor. How do things work and how do they work in the world? And so we continue to provide that in the toddler program. We have many students that join us just as toddlers, and even more that join us in primary. If you think there's 12 students in our infant program, there's 36 that are in our toddler program. There's 90, soon to be 120 in our primary programs. Wow. It's never too late to start in Montessori, or the idea of the Montessori approach to raising children, whether you're in a Montessori school or even at home, because a lot of this can be done at home as well.
Then, before I get into that, that's very impressive to know that how we are as kids up until 6 years old, that we can absorb so much, learn so much. Now it makes sense because I was able, by the time I got to first grade, I knew Chaldean, Arabic. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I knew Sudeth, Arabic, and English by the time I got to first grade. By the time I got to high school, I couldn't even figure out how to speak Spanish when they were trying to teach it. You know what I'm saying? To learn it, like a sentence would be almost impossible. So it's like I learned 3 languages by that time, which now makes sense. And leading to what you're saying now, I was going to ask you, what's your take? Because schooling has changed. I'm starting to hear some more in-house schooling now. Now it's being done as homeschool, and whether it has to do with people feeling, threatened with the way school has become, could be a target, or if it has to do with the educational side because of resources. What's your feeling with that? Because do you advocate anything after they leave you at 6 years old in choices like that, like in-home, or do you suggest schooling to continue the way it is?
What's 6 years old?
You teach them up until 6, right?
Through 6th grade.
Sixth grade,
yeah.
I was on
Age
6th
12.
grade.
Yeah.
Okay.
But do we advocate for homeschooling? So many of our students, after they do finish kindergarten, because all of our students stay through the kindergarten year, it is a 3-year program for primary, they make a choice. What are we going to do for elementary? And the choices do range from traditional education, parochial schools, homeschooling, or staying with us in Montessori. Me personally, I could never be a homeschooler, even though I'm an educator. I just need a little bit of separation. But that being said, there's some values to homeschooling that allow for more of that individualized education, tracking the children as they're capable versus when a teacher or a school administration says you have to learn something, so there's benefits. But what we found at our school is a lot of homeschool parents end up coming to us. They're looking for more socialization, and the way we teach in the Montessori classroom seems to at least carry the values that they're looking for in homeschooling in regards to the respect of the individual child, in regards to how we raise the children in our school in that social emotional environment. We're accepting of all kids, but we're teaching them about interdiscipline and boundaries versus obedience. And that seems to align with a lot of parents that feel like they don't have another choice except to homeschool.
So we grew up with, hand over the chest, American flag, you're saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and sometimes prayers in certain classes and stuff. Is that some of the tradition you guys are carrying, or have you conformed more to like the present day where it's a PC situation, right? How politically correct, like it's a tough challenge, but instilling it, I mean, we grew up on it. It wasn't a bad thing. So what changed it to be so bad that some schools have exonerated that, like that, or not exonerated, they've taken it out of the schools?
Yeah, I can't say what changed it. There's so many different factors in the way children are being raised, and the needs of adults in this PC world that
Yeah.
we're living in. It's a conflicting world, right, where we're
Right.
supposed to have more and more freedoms, but at the same time, we're clinging super tight to make sure that our children never get hurt.
Right.
And that's conflicting, right?
Yes. Yes.
But in our school, it's a whole child education. So we're discussing religions. We're celebrating all different religions, all different cultures. We're celebrating the U.S. Constitution. We're celebrating rules and regulations. They're learning about government. We travel to Lansing so that they can explore that. These are our first graders that get to do those things. So we find all of those things really important, and not one has more importance than another
Sure.
because you're educating the whole child.
I love that.
Yep. I like that. I like that.
So what is a infant's school week look like? What does a second grader's week
Yeah.
look like? What is a kindergarten,
Good
kindergarten,
question.
third, fifth, sixth
Yeah.
grade?
I would say connectively, all of their days look similar in that it's joyful and it's peaceful. So those are the most connective elements and how they're feeling. An infant's day is based on their needs. So
What time do they check in? What time do they check out?
Okay. We open at 7 a.m. We have some students, a small percentage of our student body that arrives that early because parents have needs. They need to go to work and things like that. The school day, though, starts at 8:30.
Oh, wow.
And it goes, there's a half-day program for our infants, toddlers, and preschool students. And then for kindergarten and older, they stay until 3:15 every day. And some of our infants, toddlers, and preschoolers also stay till either 3:15 or that extended day till 5:45.
Are they all 5 days, though?
In the infant and toddler program, we give flexibility. There's a real importance to spending time at home. And if a parent can spend time at home, we understand that we all can't.
Right.
I work full time.
Yeah.
But if you can, we make more adaptations to the schedule for infants and toddlers. But by the time they reach the primary age, 3 to 6 year old, it is a 5-day-a-week program. There's something really important about the repetition of coming to school every day.
Sure.
There's a more of an emotional security that occurs where they learn to trust the environment, trust the teachers, and also trust their parents, that their parent is coming back every single day. So you have less anxious children and children that are more eager to go to school.
Yeah,
That's nice.
That's great. Do you deal, just some of it, just asking for opinion besides of what you do too, but they do run into kids with ADD? Are you running into kids physically challenged? Are those part of your students? And if you do, what's some of the stuff that your school has learned to work with when it comes to these situations?
Yeah, we have children with all different types of needs, and I think every student has a special need, whether it is accelerated learning or needing some quiet space. But there are students that are ADD or ADHD. We've had students that are on the autism spectrum, lots of different needs. We've had physical challenges and needs. Right now, we have this adorable little boy that he's delayed in walking, and he walks our halls with the other toddlers using a little push cart so that he
cute.
can practice. He doesn't need to be carried. And we really work hand in hand with the parents so that we find out what gains they're making at home, what challenges they're experiencing at home, and how we can not only support those gains and support some of the challenges so that they experience growth. We then use our Montessori background, the knowledge that we know about neurological development or social and emotional development, cognitive development, and we start piecing it together and working in partnership with the parents, sometimes with therapists, psychologists, whoever it is we need to, so that we can make sure that there's continuous growth on all aspects and on all fronts for the kids.
Nice. And the diet's important for the children. That plays a big part of how they're from whether they're hyperactive or paying attention. And do you guys supply the lunch for the students, and do you work with some of the diet programs or the programs for the lunch? And the reason I ask that is we've worked with some charters in the past, Chaldean owned, and I'll tell you what route we took to help them out. It may help you, but is that something you guys target when you work with these children?
We do. We make a conscientious effort to educate children on health and nutrition. Part of our everyday in the classroom is actually food prep shelves.
Okay.
And that provides a variety of different food items, whether it's hard-boiled eggs or fruits and vegetables. It might be the ingredients to make hummus or guacamole.
Sure.
And the children actually practice those skills. So if they want a carrot, if they're hungry, they would peel the carrot themselves. They would first wash their hands. We would teach them all the steps, really, in washing their hands and then choosing a carrot, peeling the carrot, chopping the carrot, cleaning everything first, and then sitting down and eating that carrot. We also have health and nutrition classes. One of our volunteers, I would say, she happens to be a professional chef, her and her husband both, and I believe that they're working at Ocean Prime in Troy. And their children go to our school, and she now conducts a health and nutrition class for the children. So she comes in once a week, and she talks about foods around the world. She discusses the different health needs, I guess, based on where you're living, as well as different foods and flavors. And then the children have an opportunity to cook or prepare something with her as well.
That's amazing.
It's extraordinary. And the kids really can. I mean, in one of our classrooms, they do the baking. And we're talking 3 to 6-year-old children. It's usually 4 and 5-year-olds. But we give them the recipe. We give them a presentation. We show them how to do it. And then they bake. And sometimes it's awful. And other times it's absolutely delicious. But we're not afraid of them making a mistake. That's actually really very important.
Gains and losses, right? You win, you lose. You got to teach them both.
And you learn from it because mistakes are learning opportunities. And so with that, baking is a wonderful way to do that. And they really make deliberate choices. Do I want it to be a banana muffin? Do I want it to be a strawberry muffin? Do I want it to be plain? And when they fail, if we want to call it failure, when it's just really not edible, they make that discovery. One child made banana muffins, and he chose this much of a banana. And I was like, are you sure you don't want to add more banana to that? And he's like, no, that's the amount of banana I like. And I was like, okay, do you want to mash it up? He's like, no, I like it just like this. I'm like, okay. Do you think that will be? So this much banana, and he put the whole thing in. And he's like, so he bakes it, and I didn't tell him he had to mash it. I was trying to explain to him, well, are you sure it's all going to taste like banana? It is because the banana's in there. Okay, no problem. So when the muffins came out, and they were pretty good muffins, except that they weren't banana. He's like, do you like my banana muffins? And the child's like, it's not banana. And another child, do you like my banana muffins? It's not banana. And then one little girl finally shouts after like half an hour, I got the banana muffin. I got the banana. And he's like, do you like my banana muffins? She's like, it's not a muffin, because it was just banana. And so that was really important. The next day, he took the same amount of banana, but he mashed it. So it was tasted a little bit more. In addition to all of that, at our school, we have a chef on site, and she's a wonderful Chaldean woman, Joanne Shango, and she cooks phenomenal international cuisine. It's all healthy. Everything is homemade. There's no frozen, like pre-cooked chicken nuggets or things like that.
That's great for their development. People don't understand how important the diet is. We used to come home from grandma's house 5, 6 years old. You're grabbing Burger King on the way before you got home and eating all that, and it wasn't healthy. I'm gonna throw this your way and see if you'd be up for it. But my team, I have a gardening store, but my team has done this for a few schools, and one of them was a Chaldean charter school, Keys Grace Academy, on the east side. And we did their outdoor garden for them. So if you guys are up for that next summer, we'd be happy to come out there. You don't have to pay for it. We go ahead and we just assemble their raised beds. Your students then can learn how to cultivate and grow organic food. That's what we teach them. And then you just proceed from there and then carry the weight for them to, take care of it and all that. Then by the end of the season, if you have the property to do it, but by the end of the season, they'll
9 acres.
Yeah, I'm saying to you, but it sounds like she's building so fast with this schooling.
We might cover it all up with building.
Well, we help them so that when they come back for the next season for school, they're coming back in end of August, September. Then you can start picking and canning or picking and using it. So they use it for their cafeteria.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We actually have 2 different areas that have garden beds, and our teachers do a lot with them. But they are not. They're the most loved gardens, but they are not the most well tended because our children do it, and they don't quite know how. And our toddlers, actually, believe it or not, they're the ones that go into the garden more than anybody else. So they pick little carrots, and they never grow bigger
Yeah.
than
Enough.
this, but to be able to have an
Yeah.
expert
Yeah,
come
let us
in
help. We'll help
and,
you out with it, and
do-
we'll set it up and everything too, and we make it very simple, so that way continuously there's not much like effort. It's just feed if you have to. So
oh, that would be
yeah,
extraordinary.
these guys, I'm telling you, they benefited in two ways. The neighborhood saw the good that they're giving back, and they also allowed the neighborhood to come pick up whenever they wanted to take food from
That's
there.
awesome.
And
Oh,
then the
that's
kids do
amazing.
it too. The kids helped out. So we had Kids Day. They brought them on board. Kids with the shovels, kids with the dirt, kids with with the plants. But it worked out really well. I left them about 3.5, 4 years ago from doing it, and they've maintained it and made it prettier and prettier every year, and these kids love it. So
We'd love an
we'll help you
expert.
out with it.
Yeah.
You just reach out to me when it's time. It'll probably be usually we start rocking things around Mother's Day, a little after that. So a little after May of next year, you can just get in touch with me, and we'll bring the crew out, and we help you, and we donated all of it. So
That's
Stop
awesome.
by my house too, Junior.
Yeah, that's fine.
And mine.
That's fine.
No, we would love it. We also actually have an apple orchard on our property.
Oh,
It's a
that's
small
awesome.
apple orchard. I think there's about 25 apple trees,
a lot.
and that they actually do bear fruit.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing because the children learned not to touch the apples until they were
Yep.
ready. And now we do canning of applesauce and making apple pies.
You know what
coring
you can do to
apples,
keep
things
you know
like
what you
that.
can do to keep them busy during that time? To keep bugs away, you take a pantyhose and you cover each one of the apples with it. That's how you
Really?
protect it from bugs getting on there and worms and stuff getting into it. Yeah.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Because they're always picking them and going, "This one's
Yeah.
not good."
Yep. Yep. They
This
start getting the
one's
little
not good.
holes and stuff in them. That's how you keep them
Yeah.
out. You get the pantyhose
Yeah.
on there, wrap them around there, and makes it hard for them to penetrate.
See, we're already learning.
Yep.
Every day's a learning experience.
Give the kids something to do.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Awesomeness.
so cool. So right now, how many kids are under your wing right now at the Montessori?
We have 165 students at the school,
Wow.
and still growing. I think we're enrolling 2 students today, which was very exciting as I was walking out. 2 new families
So
were coming in.
you enroll like mid-semester, or how do the
Sometimes we
semesters
do.
work? in
Yeah.
Montessori?
Preferably we start at the beginning of the school year. We have
Mm-hmm.
a January start, but we're a really international school, so we have lots of families that are moving here from overseas. They might be getting jobs within the automotive industry. Metro Detroit is known for that.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would say we don't discriminate on the time people start because we really want to accommodate for these families the opportunity for the children to have more of a seamless transition. So we do enroll throughout the school year.
Nice.
That's nice. And you're assisting the parents. I see that what you do with the timing. You brought that up, which is a helpful thing. Now let's talk vice versa. How do parents help out with children and you guys being teachers? Where does their assistance come in, or what do you like to see from parents when working with them?
I think at whatever school that you're at, it's really important to have a homeschool connection. So the relationship with the parent and the teacher and the parent and the school as a whole is really important. We have a PTO, and that is a parent-teacher organization. They meet monthly, and they do some extraordinary things in the school, whether it's our special events like a Halloween party that's coming up on October 26th. The PTO puts that together. They have a chili cook-off, things like that. That's a great way for parents to stay connected. We actually have volunteer hours in order to encourage the parents to really come in and spend time in the classroom. Sometimes they come in and they read to the children. Sometimes children read to them. There's lots of different ways. One parent ran the initiative to bring a digital platform into the school. It's called Kid Report, and that allows for a 2-way communication with the parents. It's an app.
Okay.
And so different parents end up coming in, and as we're constantly growing, they end up joining that initiative and helping us to grow. So
Awesome.
that's really important. From the school end, in order to encourage that even more, we offer parent education classes, and we do those once a month. And those are actually open to the public. They're not limited to our school community because Montessori is a name that describes the most natural and respectful way to raise children. And almost anybody that has children is doing it because they want to make an impact on a little human, and they want to make an impact on the world, right? So we want to give them support and education on how to bring that way of communicating with children so that their children are happier, less stressed, more excited, and more engaged with them at home as well as at school. So we do those monthly.
Yep.
And what do we learn as parents there?
The topics ranged. The most recent topic that we had was really about emotional separation and transitions, and learning the role that we play when we're trying to express to our children how much we love them. If it's so hard for parents to send their kids to school for the first time, particularly in the younger ages, and parents feel emotional, and the parents learn that the children read off of those emotions.
Yeah.
And if you're trying really hard not to cry because I'm leaving my baby, which
Yeah.
is so hard. I was that mom. I'd done it for 25
Yeah.
years, and
Yeah.
I could not leave the school on the first day. I really couldn't. I was like, bye. And she's around the corner. I'm like,
Bye.
bye. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I totally get it. But
Yeah.
I'm really teaching them what role to play and what kind of communication. I think earlier you had mentioned to me those questions to ask kids when you pick them up from school.
Yep.
There's also things to say when you're dropping them off at school that's going to ease that transition. It's the things that say, you're so lucky, you're going to have a great day, I'll miss you. But I can't wait to see you later. You're going to have a great day, and having that positive language with
Yeah.
them. A parent was visiting the school today, and as she was leaving after an hour tour, and they seemed to like everything we're talking about, she said, what impressed me the most is while I was waiting for you to come down, I saw so many moms, and their language was so positive, moms and dads. Their language was so positive. They were essentially telling the child, you are so lucky, I'll see you later. And so that's really what we were focusing on, and parents were giving us examples, and we were answering and giving them the tools so that it was more comfortable for them. It's that reminder of you're doing the best for your kid, and therefore trust in all of the experiences you're giving. They're not going to be perfect. There is no school, there's no parent, there's no playground, there's nothing out there that's actually perfect.
No.
What there is people striving for perfection and celebrating imperfections within people, while trying to offer the very best. And when parents start to feel that, then there's less self-doubt and there's less self-recriminations that are necessary, which means their child is going to feel something positive from the parents.
Oh, that's amazing.
And to refer what you're saying to, it was, we were talking in conversation earlier. I had posted something on social media, and I'm able to view the analytics to see what's going on. It was one of the behind the scenes most impactful, and I realized there must be a lot of women parents that, moms that are following, because a lot of them ended up saving it and sending it out to others, and few others saw me after. But it was simple 5 questions, and I'm not a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, you two are, so it's 2 totally different worlds. But at the end of the day, I was a kid once, right? That's how I was.
Nieces and nephews.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
I have
all
nieces-
kids once, Junior.
Yeah, you can say, yeah,
That's
we
how
were.
it works.
Right, that's how I'm saying. But in regards to that, like, I've been yelled at by, sister or whoever. You don't know how it is to have kids. And I always respond, but I knew what it was to be a kid. And I knew what I would have wanted to hear and feel, and it's different, like what we grew up with. So
yeah, we actually share a similar post, and it is always the most shared on our social
What
media
does your
as well.
post say?
10 different ways to speak to children when you pick them up from school.
Do you know what they are offhand? or
Offhand, there's
of
a
them?
few different ones. Rather than how was your day, which is very oblique. What did you learn today? Not so much. But when you say, what was the most exciting thing that you learned today? What's one friend that, name one friend that you did something new with today? Or what moment made you smile?
Yeah.
And those are the types of questions that lead them to offering something, because it's vast. Like, what did you learn? Well, I mean, it was 7 hours. I learned 7 hours worth of
Right.
experiences in life and things.
Yeah.
And so asking more specifics that promote a conversation versus a tally.
Gotcha. And then so we talked about starting mid semester or whatever. What are the tuitions compared to a Catholic school or something like that?
Yeah, our tuition is a little bit higher than parochial schools, but it's lower than other prep schools.
Okay.
So there's other Montessori schools or prep schools in the area that have considerably higher tuition. We kind of sit right in the middle, particularly if you look at our daycare price. Like, we don't offer daycare, we offer early childhood. However, when you compare us to a rainbow system or things like that, Our tuition's only a small percentage higher than theirs for early childhood because we want to make it fair and competitive to the parents. But we are not subsidized by the government. We're not
Right.
subsidized by the church. So funding is really just based on us. When we look at our small school and we have to pay the mortgage on a 9-acre,
course.
33,000 square foot facility, a public school or a charter school, puts out a bill, right? And we get to vote on whether we want that passed, the millage that's out
Yeah.
there. We don't get to do that. The church might support growth in a parochial school. So we have to be a little bit higher than the parochial schools, but on average, our tuition, when we look at the dollars that comes into a public school comparatively to the dollars that we charge in tuition, those actually end up becoming equal. And out of that, we're still having to pay for building maintenance, upkeep,
Sure.
growth, and
Yep.
development separate. So we do our very best. We try to take care of our teachers as much as we can while taking care of our parents. I know for me, when we decided to invest and build the school, I had to turn to my husband and say, if we stick in private school through high school, we're talking about $180,000 per child. And he was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I think we can invest in a Montessori school."
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I think so. The investment was actually smaller, but we really respect what parents have to put out. Not everybody can afford, that, but there's people out there that don't believe that they can afford something different than Montessori either. They want this for their children. So we do a lot of scholarships if needed. There's a scholarship application. It goes through a committee, but we do our very best despite a higher tuition price to make it affordable for our families.
Well, it sounds like the value is definitely there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
No, it's not just something just for the price of.
Yeah,
There's
you're
a
not-
lot that comes with
You're
it.
not just printing the kids up and pushing them in and
No.
pushing them out. It's not an assembly line. It's
Quality.
hands-on
Yeah.
care.
Quality, yeah. She's
And they're
giving
learning everything. They're
Yeah.
not just learning like ABCs and get sent
No.
off into
And
the
so,
world.
so the audience knows, just for the sake of her credibility as well, you've been doing this for about 8 years, but you have other history. If you want to tell us about that, you've had your
Yeah.
educational history besides this. So
I started in a Montessori school when I was at U of M and as a student, and I needed a job. So I got into Montessori that way. I was 18 years old. By the time I was 20, I went to do my Montessori training concurrently with obtaining my college degree in fine arts. And I've been teaching or working in some capacity with Montessori schools since then, whether it was as a teacher, as an administrator, as a consultant. And then when we opened it 8 years ago, it was really through research that said, why is education changing? Why are Montessori schools saying things like we need to compete with public school? That's not what Montessori is about. We're not trying to be elite educational institute. We're looking at offering Montessori education to children. And that's really how it all transpired. But over 25 years, I've learned a lot. I've fallen down. I've made mistakes. But it's always a learning opportunity. There's times where I just look and think, oh, I totally said the wrong thing to that child. And now he's in battle with me. I'm looking and saying, you'll fall off of the chair. And he's going, I won't. See, look, I'm really good at this. I'm thinking that child's never going to fall off a chair again. And what I should have said was really, really simple. Chairs are for sitting. We stand on the floor. And he's going to say, but I'm trying to clean the window, which is all he was trying to do. It's a window washing work. And what I really should have said was, chairs are for sitting. Do you need a step stool? And he would have immediately gotten off that chair. He would have gone and gotten that step stool. But I flubbed, and I was like, oh, gosh, I knew this. And that was 25 years later, doing this for 25 years. It's always a learning opportunity. There's nothing that we need to beat ourselves over as long as we're always striving for the best for the kids that way.
And
That's nice.
That's awesome to know.
Yeah.
And just for the help to parents, especially these days, depression and stuff like that does come from these young kids. Have you faced it, or what are some of the things that parents can look to see, or how do you guys work together to help them get out of that rut?
Yeah, we don't see a lot in regards to depression or whatnot because our educational model is really based on developing a love of learning and a joy in learning. However, there are children that have different things. There is anxiety. There is just different imbalances going on in their bodies. And we really work with them and coach parents and children on you can trust me. We're having a conversation. I'm not trying to stop you. I tell my own son, who is an emotional little genius. He feels everything big. He learns everything big. He's
You want to shout him
studying
out?
right now.
What you want to shout his name?
Hi, Sevi. And Zaya, you're awesome too. Grace, you're my love. Well, they all are, but you're getting me in trouble here. This is not good. But there's times where they feel too much, and we want to really talk to them about it's okay to feel. I would never ask a child not to be frustrated. I would never ask a child not to feel sad. What we want to say is, you feel frustrated, you feel sad, pushing your friends or kicking the shelf or throwing something isn't safe. So what can we do? And it's important to make that distinction for parents as well. When you try to shove emotions into a corner and pretend that they don't exist, you're being really unfair. These little children have so much less experience dealing with life and emotions than we do. And think about the times you guys have gotten frustrated or felt sad.
Yeah.
You have,
Still do.
What are you, 25? 25 years, 40, 12 years of experience, I don't know. And yet still, sometimes those emotions overwhelm us. These little humans have 3 years, 5 years, 12 years. I'm sorry, but an 18-year-old still only has 18 years of life under their belt comparatively to ours. And so respecting their emotions, but giving them the boundaries that say, let's find a safer way to express them. And that's probably the most critical and important information I think any parent could need. Respect the emotions, acknowledge the emotions, and then create the boundary that says what's a different way we can express it.
Good.
Where could someone find you guys if they wanted to enroll their children or reach out? There's a website there.
We're at the www.the, like the, THEM as in Montessori, S as in school, R as in Rochester.net. So the MSR.net. You can also follow us on Facebook at the Montessori School Rochester. There's no of in the name, so you're looking for the Montessori School Rochester. Otherwise, you'll be following a school in New York, which happens to be pretty fabulous as well. But if you want to follow us, we're the Montessori School Rochester on Facebook.
Cool.
And where's the school located exactly?
We're in Rochester Hills at South Boulevard in Livernois.
Okay.
3976 South Livernois Road.
Cool. All 9 acres.
All 9
Yeah,
acres.
all 9 acres.
Right on the corner.
Cool.
Are there are landmarks in the area?
No, we are the landmark.
You are the landmark.
It actually
okay.
is a historical building, and so
nice.
the building happens to be a landmark.
Oh, that's
cool.
It is a historical building. The original school was founded in the mid-1800s by Farmer Stiles, who donated that portion of the property. It was a public school that the current building was built in, I think, 1929, 27, and it actually has historical elements like artwork that was granted or funded through a grant by the New Deal Act. So it actually happens that the school is the biggest landmark in that area.
Very cool.
But we're about a mile down from Nino Salvaggio's, which is on Rochester Road, 1 mile down on South Boulevard, and you're at Livernois.
Okay.
Nice.
And you mentioned, do you have any of your art work hanging in the school?
No, we have the students' artwork hanging in
Okay.
the school.
All right.
I think there's actually one installation piece of my artwork that's going in the school,
Nice.
but we reserve that for home. Or
Congratulations.
galleries and museums if anybody wants.
So let's get personal a little bit. You want to shout out your parents, your husband, your
Sure.
aunts, uncles, cousins, sisters, brothers?
Yeah.
Everybody. Huge Chaldean family because
Yeah.
we're very, very Chaldean. My parents are George and Selyono. Love them dearly. They raised 7 of us, and we're all doing pretty fabulous, I think.
Awesome.
And my husband is Joanne Shango. His fabulous parents are Shememta and Baba Zaya. And my son was named after him. His name is Zaya Elias. He is actually the second because he got the entire name, which is funny because a lot of Chaldean, like older Chaldean people are like, you're giving him such an old name, such a Baba name.
It is a Baba name.
And yet,
That's cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. Everybody else that doesn't know Surat, doesn't know the language or the history is like, what a great name.
Yeah,
and
of course.
my younger son, Sivi, was, we call him Sevi, but his name actually stemmed from my husband's great-grandfather
Oh, wow.
and my great-grandfather, whose name was Yusuf, both of them, not shared great-grandparents,
Yeah.
but they were both Yusuf, and their nickname was Sivi.
Wow.
And so we gave him the name
That's
Sevi.
very cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then my kids, we talked about Grace. She's my oldest. And then Zaya is just about to be 12 in like 2 more days. Happy birthday.
Happy
And
birthday.
Sevi just turned
Something.
well,
Let's say
9.
7. No, 9, okay.
I'm pretty sure 9. Yeah, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, he just turned 9. And
Cool.
Good.
What about brothers and sisters? You want to shout some of them out?
oh, gosh, which one do I start with? I've got 6 of them.
Yeah.
There's Jennifer Joyce. I'm Joanne, Jerome, Jamie, Janine, Jonathan. They all live in Michigan except for Joyce, who's in Houston. She's an optometrist. Jennifer works for Ford Motor Company. Jerome and Jonathan are independently employed. They have businesses out in Romulus.
Cool.
Jamie is a Montessori teacher. She actually runs a school in Livonia. It's called Premier Children's Academy in
Good.
Livonia. It's also a Montessori school. And Janine, who has her children at my school, she works in real estate as some admin role.
Okay,
She's
good.
really good.
Yeah, really. It's the best.
So that's all of them. My husband also has a large family, and I'm not going through
All
their
right,
names,
let's
but I
not-
love you all.
Let's not
Good.
do that.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we anything we missed or anything that we didn't cover that we should cover?
That you want to mention
Yeah.
or plug?
Yep.
Or anyone that you want to shout out?
Yeah.
What else? I mean, it's keeping up with the Chaldeans, and I would say I live in Rochester, and I didn't know there were a lot of Chaldeans out there. The longer we've been in business, the more Chaldeans I've met. It's probably the thing I miss the most. I love being Chaldean. I've always been really active in the Chaldean community, and moving out to Rochester, I felt like I lost touch for a little while because it's so far away.
Were you
almost
with
east
Keiko
side.
before?
I
Well,
was. I
you
was
with
with
Keiko, yeah, I remember back
youth
then, yeah.
groups,
Yeah.
the Chaldean American Ladies of Charity. I used to run that program. Not run it. I was their program director with Jane Shalal. I love Jane.
Jane's
I
awesome.
love working with so many of the people in the Chaldean community. And now that we're more settled as a school, I'm really looking forward to going back to making those connections
And you
with
just recently
my
joined the
people.
chamber?
I did,
Chaldean
thanks
Chamber
to
of Commerce?
Anthony Toma here. It was
Sanaa.
exciting. It all kind of came. And Sanaa, she was
Yep.
great. Navaret, is that no? What's the last
I can
name?
never pronounce her
something
name.
like that.
Sanaa N.
Yeah, and that was really exciting. It was like the right time and place.
Mm-hmm.
I have more time on my hands because we have finally a DO. We call her our do. We had to create a title
What
so
does
that
the-
she could say do.
What does the do?
The do does everything.
do
She keeps
does.
us organized, but we director of operations so that we
Okay.
could call her do.
Yeah.
She keeps everything organized and really focused for the growth that we're planning on
That's
doing
awesome.
for the school because we're growing into middle school in the next couple of years, and so she's our do. And now I get to spend a little bit more time kind of connecting back to the community.
The middle schools, what ages? What
The
range?
adolescent program is 12 to 18 years old. We'll start with middle school, and the goal would be to go right into high school.
Congratulations.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think it'll be great. I trained in 2014-15, and it was terrifying. I did not. I was a very, very awkward adolescent. Not my fondest years, and I was really nervous about it. But it's pretty extraordinary. It's a work-based program, and it's really about doing projects and relating everything that you learn and know into things that you're about to learn.
Right.
And so everything's relevant. So growing that and having the do to kind of guide that ship, I get to reconnect a little bit
Good.
with the community.
Awesome. We're excited to have you at the chamber, and I got my money on you for getting this program and the expansion done.
Awesome, because we're taking investors. That's
So,
great.
yeah, all right.
So, want to ask her the question?
I think she kind of covered it already.
I was gonna say
we
she
usually
nailed it,
close
right?
out with what is it to you to be Chaldean? What does it mean to you?
Community
Mm-hmm.
and family, food, culture, and language. I tried so hard to raise my daughter speaking the language first because
that
I
go?
knew it went really well until number 2 came.
Okay.
And then my brain was scattered because I speak Chaldean, Surath,
Mm-hmm.
but I think in English. And so for me, it was a constant translation. Sometimes it was a phone call to my mom or to my aunt, and like, how do you say this?
Yeah.
And that was so. it was that language is really, really important, and I stress to everybody, grandparents, if you're around your children, dude, just speak to them in Surat because they're going to understand you. They may not be able to answer back yet, but do what I did. I mean, it was so important to me when I used to speak with my grandmother. She was trying to learn English, and at one point, she only spoke English, and I could only answer back in Surat so that we could both master it a little bit more. So the food, the language, the family, the church, really, really important. When I look back at my life and the different moments that really impacted me, it was the church, or it was the Chaldean American Ladies of Charity. It was the women in my family that really impacted me to help me grow into, I think, the great woman I am today.
Yes,
so
you are a great
that's
woman.
what it means to be Chaldean to me.
Awesome. You've inspired me to bring my kids out to your school.
All right, it's not a far drive.
No,
you can do it.
not at all.
Yeah, it takes about 35 minutes from the west side to head over to Rochester.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I commend a lot of you women that are in the educational field.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, from anything from Renee Nager to you to others that have done it for a good amount of time. People don't even know because we weren't exposing you on social media back then. We just knew you when we saw you at church to know what you're doing or wherever we saw everybody. But kudos to all you women doing this. You're making a difference.
There's some men too, but thank you.
Yeah.
I do appreciate it. And it's a shout out to all of the educators. So many of my friends are educators, and especially the ones that have families of their own, because sometimes you're depleted, just from the job, and then you have to go home to, you get to go home to your children. But sometimes that's so hard, and yet they manage to give 100% everywhere. So I agree. Thank you.
Shout out to all the women
all
out there.
to the women out there.
God bless you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining
welcome.
us. Thank you for sharing everything. And
next time we talk to you,
inspiring
we want to see
everybody.
18 acres, right?
18 acres?
Yeah, you're at 9 now.
Nine's good.
Yeah,
Nine's
nine's good. But hopefully when we get to talk to you next year on your revisit, we'll be at 18.
Well,
Awesome.
you guys
Knock
just
on
let
wood.
me know when you guys can invest, and
Right,
we'll
there you
work
go.
on that for you.
That's fair.
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me.